Welcome to Motivated by Faith, where your spirit gets stronger, your mindset gets sharper, and your purpose gets clearer. Here, we don't just talk about faith, we live it, breathe it, and build with it. Whether you're in a battle, a breakthrough, or building the best version of you, this is your space to reset, refocus, and rise. Subscribe now, because faith isn't weak, it's your superpower. This is your time. Let's move motivated by faith. Have you ever truly paused and asked yourself, what does God have planned for me? I don't mean a fleeting thought during a hard day. I mean a deep soul-searching reflection. Most of us go through life caught in a blur of tasks, distractions, and uncertainties, rarely stopping to look up and ask the bigger questions. We chase after security, success, and satisfaction, yet sometimes we miss the divine blueprint already set in motion for us. The Bible tells us in Jeremiah 29:11 that God has plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. That's not just a comforting verse, it's a promise, but the reality is many of us doubt that promise. We question whether God's plans are truly better than ours, or whether they even exist at all. But what if I told you that the very path you're walking, through the confusion, the setbacks, the disappointments, is leading you somewhere better than you've ever dreamed? God's plans aren't always clear up front. They don't come with a manual or a timeline, but that's exactly why they require faith. They ask us to trust that what we can't see is far greater than what we can. And once you start walking in that trust, you'll discover that what He has prepared for you is more beautiful and meaningful than anything you could have built on your own. One of the biggest lies we buy into is the belief that we must have everything figured out. We think that clarity equals control, and that control equals peace, but that's not how God operates. He doesn't show us the whole picture at once. Instead, He gives us just enough light to take the next step. Why? Because trust is built in the unknown. We also carry the false assumption that our current situation is our final destination. We look at our bank account, our job title, our relationship status, and we believe that God can't possibly do something amazing from this place. But God has a long history of working through the unexpected, of turning shepherds into kings, prisoners into prime ministers, and fishermen into apostles. He is not limited by our circumstances, we are. He is not confined by time, resources, or ability, we are. And that's why we must let go of our limitations when imagining what God can do in our lives. Many of us also struggle with comparison. We scroll through social media, seeing curated snapshots of success and happiness, and we assume that's what blessing looks like. But God's plan for you isn't a carbon copy of someone else's highlight reel. Your journey is custom designed, your hardships, your growth, your detours. They all play a role in shaping your purpose. Don't disqualify yourself because of where you are or where you've been. You're still in process, and God's not finished with you yet. I've seen firsthand how God's redirection can lead to greater blessings. Years ago, I had my heart set on attending a particular college. It was my dream, and I worked hard for it. But when things didn't pan out the way I expected, I felt lost, confused, and honestly disappointed in God. It wasn't until later that I realized He had something much better in store. At a different college, one I never imagined attending, I discovered my true passions, met lifelong friends, and experienced spiritual growth I wouldn't trade for anything. Looking back, I see that rejection wasn't punishment. It was protection and preparation. Another example is my friend Sarah. She spent months job hunting, battling rejection after rejection, and was about to give up. Then, out of nowhere, a company she'd applied to long ago reached out. That job turned out to be everything she'd hoped for, and more. Stories like these remind us that God is always working, even when we can't see it. His silence isn't absence, it's preparation. Every closed door, every delay, every unexpected turn is part of a bigger story, one that only makes sense in hindsight, and maybe right now you're living through a chapter that doesn't make sense yet. But I promise you this, God is writing something beautiful. Stay in the story, don't give up before the breakthrough. The turning point in my journey was realizing that God's plan isn't ultimately about me, it's about Him. It's about revealing His goodness, His faithfulness, and His ability to redeem every broken piece of our lives. Once I let go of the pressure to have it all together, once I stopped trying to control the outcome, something shifted inside me. I found peace, not because everything was perfect, but because I finally believed that God was in control, and He knew what He was doing. This kind of surrender is powerful. It doesn't make life easier, but it gives you strength, clarity, and hope. It helps you wake up with purpose, even when the path is unclear. When you trust in God's plan, you step into a life of possibility. You stop settling for the ordinary and start expecting the extraordinary. You begin to walk in boldness, knowing that you are being guided by a God who sees the end from the beginning. So let me ask you, what's holding you back? Is it fear, doubt, disappointment? Whatever it is, I invite you to lay it down. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next step. Trust that the same God who brought you this far is not going to leave you now. And if this message has stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share your story. Encourage someone else. Because when we speak of God's goodness, we remind ourselves and each other that His plan is always worth trusting.